Hey everybody, this is Blake here, and welcome to my review of Elysium. Now, this was definitely one of my more anticipated films of the summer. The trailers and promotional stills, everything surrounding this movie made the movie look so cool, but at the same time, it didn't seem like it was trying too hard to look cool. Most futuristic science fiction movies, they draw inspiration from Blade Runner. And even though I love Blade Runner, I'm tired of seeing that same overly exaggerated bleak world being used over and over again. It's just become so tiresome. But Elysium looked different. Its world may have been bleak in its own way, but it wasn't necessarily trying to emulate the aesthetics of Blade Runner. It had its own aesthetics, and it seemed also more grounded in reality, whereas the Blade Runner-esque type settings are honestly a little bit more fantasy than science fiction, in my opinion. Once again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I've seen it done so many times that I've become bored of it. Whereas Elysium just had this very fresh-looking atmosphere that I thought just appealed to me. So obviously I was really anticipating the film, but then the reviews came out, and for the most part the critics and general audiences were lukewarm, even if a little positive. The general consensus was it looks good, but at the same time the script is rather conventional. So I was disappointed. I was like, okay, I better scale down my expectations because this probably isn't going to be the redemption of summer 2013. Oh, I hate this summer so much. But then I remembered, wait a minute, everybody else loved District 9. I did not, so why am I worried about what the critics are thinking here? So just to clarify, I do not hate or even dislike District 9. I just despise the hype that surrounds it. There are two different kinds of overrated. You have the Slumdog Millionaire kind of overrated, where it just doesn't have that same connection to you that other great movies did. I can't think of very little wrong about. I cannot think of very much that Slumdog Millionaire did wrong objectively. It just didn't do anything for me. Whereas with District 9 or Avatar, I could poke holes in the script. I could criticize exact issues, and it baffles me that I'm the only one who seems to be noticing them. But at the same time, I will concede that District 9 had a lot of creativity within both the visuals and story. I mean, it was an ambitious flick, and the special effects are phenomenal, and the action scenes are incredibly well framed. But I felt that the script just has too many dumb moments. Characters just seem stupid for the sake of driving the social commentary or the message, and the tone is all over the place. It's supposed to be sad whenever we see, atrocities being committed against the aliens, but then when the main guy kills a random soldier and blows him into pieces, he makes some sort of goofy one-liner, and it just seemed odd to me. So yeah, but at the same time, I can't deny that Neil Blomkamp, the director, he is definitely a major talent, and I think he can come out with a great movie. And I felt this way even while I was watching District 9, for all of its flaws and the fact that it is incredibly overrated, in my opinion. I definitely felt that this guy could make a great movie. He just lacked the experience to do it with District 9. So now comes Elysium. I loved Elysium. I was so happy with this movie. It is definitely one of the best films of the summer, maybe even the best. Well, let's first start with the obvious, the visuals. There's a lot of practical effects, and I was surprised about that, but they're really well done. And then the CGI, when that happens, it's flawless. There was not a single special effect that I felt looked like a special effect. Everything felt real to me, which is of course what you really want out of any kind of special effect. But more importantly, I love the detail that went into everything. For example, the robots on Earth, they look like they're outdated. They're old, they're dusty, they have rust on them, they're scratched up. They look like they should have been replaced years ago, but that also makes sense considering the setting, whereas when you see the robots on Elysium, they look like they've just been freshly painted, waxed, they're brand new looking, and I love the differences there. And same with the vehicles. Whenever you see a vehicle on Earth, it's all, once again, like kind of old and messed up looking, whereas when you see something on Elysium, it's all fancy and pretty, and I just love the different contrast there. Then also, like various action scenes, there'd be so much detail when it comes to just the props or the scenarios. One of my favorite weapons, even though it's not really a weapon, is Kruger, the main villain. He has like this energy shield that blocks bullets, but at the same time, even though it stops the bullets from hitting him, it's still he's knocked off his feet. Whereas usually when you think of energy shield that can block bullets, it's just going to block bullets and that's that. But I just like that kind of stuff, the little details that I think really do help make the action scenes memorable, because the action in itself, honestly, I thought District 9 had better planned action scenes. There's a lot more memorable moments within District 9 when it came to the action. But here, just once again, the little quirks here and there when it came to the props and the action, I felt really made them seem much better than they really were. Those scenes anyway. So yeah, I thought visually this film was amazing. I love the almost Stanley Kubrickian shot of Elysium. Like you have, of course, the scene that you see in the trailers where where you see it from a distance, but then it gets closer to where you could actually see through the whatever's containing the atmosphere, and you see like all the trees and houses and stuff like that, and the way the camera kind of moves in, it definitely reminded me of Stanley Kubrick in 2001 Space Odyssey. That actually might be one of the best single shots that I've seen in the past 5 years, maybe even more. It's breathtaking. And of course, once again, the Earth definitely looks kind of bleak. It looks messed up, but at the same time, it's its own kind of bleak. It's not trying to emulate another kind of movie. And then Elysium looks gorgeous. I loved every scene that took place on Elysium just because it just looked really good. So obviously I had no issues when it came to the visuals. Story-wise, things become a little bit more complicated because this is what everybody seems to be criticizing. I disagree. And what conventional is, it's unoriginal, or it's cliched. But honestly, even though the story is definitely a little familiar, I wouldn't say it's any more so than District 9. I mean, when you think about it, District 9 is just every man becomes what he hates / hunts movie mixed in with a man on the run scenario, with aliens, and it's put into a ghetto. All that kind of stuff is unoriginal in itself. It's just how he mixed that stuff up, which made it seem more original than it really was. Elysium, in my opinion, is the same way. Even though, yeah, it definitely has a lot of familiar elements, it often goes against one's expectations with certain little quirks within the story. Like, for example, the love interest. Okay, you're expecting them to fall back in love any time. While he obviously still carries a torch for the main girl, it's more ambiguous as to what she feels about him. And even though there's definitely some romantic innuendo between the two, they never officially become a couple. I liked that. And, I was expecting it to turn out that her daughter will be his daughter, but at no point do they ever reveal that, so I just thought that was incredibly refreshing. And there's so many little surprises that if I were to give it away, I might spoil anything. Like, let's just say a grenade situation I was not expecting at all, and that's followed up with another surprise. So, even though the story is nothing new, how it goes about it is, in my opinion, very original and very unique. The character development isn't as pronounced as it was in District 9, but in District 9 you had a much more unlikable character who becomes more heroic over the course of the film. I honestly didn't think either film is a shining example of great character development. I felt how the main character from District 9 went from A to B was a little forced. Well, here it's better in my opinion, but only because it's not as obvious about it. The main character in Elysium, Max, he's kind of selfish. He has a criminal past, but at the same time, he's not as overtly unlikable as the character from District 9 was in the beginning. So, I liked him much more, but at the same time, it seemed like the story was forcing him to develop instead of just having him develop on his own, if that makes any sense. He's put in too many situations where he is forced to make a choice instead of, I think it would have been more powerful if he chose to make certain choices. And one thing I loved about the script, though, is that either way you look at it, it kind of has a downer ending, because either, Max gets to Elysium and gets cured, but possibly at the expense of, everybody else, or he fails his mission and nothing changes, or he decides to sacrifice his life to save everybody else, but at the same time, is anything going to change? I mean, the person who's really going to be in charge of everything, if Max succeeds, is also in the beginning charging people to go on a doomed expedition to Elysium, so he's obviously not much better than the people running Elysium. So I like that. There's no solution to anything in this film. It lets you make your own choices, whereas District 9 kind of forced you to buy into its own message, which once again I felt wasn't really thought out very well. So I like that. And I like the social commentary also just felt more naturally weaved in with the story. It's not quite as it's not trying to get your attention the same way that District 9 was. District 9 was a movie where I felt it was flaunting this kind of stuff too much, whereas in my opinion Elysium was more subtle, and I appreciated that more. The supporting cast, the characters themselves are kind of average. They're just stock characters. You have, one-dimensional villains, a one-dimensional love interest, but at the same time, much like District 9, they are really meant to be part of the main character's development. They aren't necessarily individual characters in themselves, so their only purpose is how they affect the protagonist. I was a little disappointed in the character of Kruger. I thought Sharlto Copley, is that his name? I thought he did a great job in the role, even though I could not understand a single thing he was saying. Primarily, though, it wasn't so much his accent. He has like this real thick South African accent. I think it was South African. But it seems like there's always some sort of background noise going on whenever he's speaking, whether it's his jet hovering in the background or what. But the character himself is just a very traditional villain. He's evil, and that's the extent of his characterization. But so yeah, I thought both District 9 and Elysium had the same flaw, but at the same time, it's an understandable flaw just because they're only there for the sake of the main character's development. Anything else I could say? Not really. I just thought overall it was a much more focused movie than District 9 was. It's not quite as bizarre, maybe not even as unique, but there was less moments where I got angry at it. I never felt that it became stupid for the sake of driving its social commentary. I loved it, and that's all I can really say. If you'd like to read my written review, which is probably much more coherent than this video review, please check the link in my description. It has a lot of semen in that review. I'm not joking, so definitely read that. It's one of my weirder reviews. I did written reviews of El Gringo, which sucked. Oddly, I did not do a written review of this one, but I saw Get the Gringo immediately afterwards, and that's with Mel Gibson, and that was much better. But El Gringo, so annoying. But read that anyway. I did written reviews of Saw and Rubber, so read those too. I plan on releasing my part 2 of the Uncanny Valley review on sometime this week. That's all I've got. Follow me on Twitter, and I gotta go get my haircut now, so bye-bye.